Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're going to take a look at the Probopass in the Great League Remix Cup. Why do we take a look at this Pokemon? Because the Bastiodon is of course banned for this matter. And so we're going to have Bastiodon Light here basically, no Excel needed, but also very bulky, same typing, and has actually maybe a little bit of better coverage. We're going to have here also an interesting team. I thought of going for Grassel just because like Bastiodon and Grassel does make sense. But I would have ended up kind of with a similar team that I showcased earlier on already for this meta here with the victory bell on the thumbnail. So if you want to take a look at this video, then feel free to do so. But you can basically change the team as well towards that and just use, instead of the Auroras in the lead, the Probopass. But anyways, we're going to have here a very interesting team as well with two flying water birds. And honestly, this team was so great to play. There are barely any kind of electric types in the meta currently, which makes it very safe to play either the Say-Swap of Pelipper or the Say-Swap of Mantine, depending on what you're going to encounter in the lead. And that's exactly how you kind of want to play it. We're going to talk a little bit more about it throughout the video. But yeah, if you enjoy the type of content, feel free to leave a like as well in the video and subscribe if you have not already. I haven't really said this in the recent videos, would really appreciate it. But let's take a look here at the first battle where we can still try to reach our weather ball with our Pelipper, but let's see if this is going to work out for us. The weather ball is coming through with a CMP tile, so we're going to keep quite a little bit of energy still for the last matchup here, which is going to be the Annihilape. Annihilape is going to be an interesting one here, as he can swap out into our Probopass to catch a move. This game is not over yet, but look at Probopass. We can actually still take the counters and we can go for a big Zap Cannon to nuke away the Annihilape and win the game. And this is a crazy thing about the Probopass. A lot of people are not prepared for this Pokemon, because like most people are not prepared for any kind of Bastiodon basically, and so a lot of teams are quite weak to it. There are quite a lot of flying type Pokemon, and also this one is going to be even better against something like a Mantine, because you have Spark as a fast move, which does quite a lot of damage. Here against the Carbink, you kinda can just go up and get a ton of energy before throwing a charge move, which is kinda nice. They're kind of in range where I can just go for a Zap Cannon now, try to get a debuff. I barely got debuffs with Zap Cannon, I have to say. I was definitely below like 50% here. I will be able to get one, but there were some matchups as well where it would have been very nice to get a debuff where I didn't get it, but it is what it is. We can go for the full farm as they can go for another Rock Slide, and now we end up with nearly 100 energy here, I think, and Probopass kind of stored with a ton of energy. And look at this, the opponent is completely weak to our Probopass. They're going to have another Pokemon that's going to be weak to it. They decide to use a shield here, expecting most likely the Zap Cannon there instead, and I can catch a move here of the Aerial Ace onto our Mantine, getting out the opponent's Mandibuss. Going to tell me as well that they're going to have another Pokemon in the back where Probopass is going to do some super effective damage against. And as they swap out here now into the Mantine, we know already at this point this game is basically over. Like, this game is basically over. Our Pelipper is quite a lot of play. Our old Mantine is still going to be able to do some decent damage. And our Probopass is going to be able to beat both of the opponent's Pokemon. Of course, with the health we're currently at, it's still going to be a little bit of a trickier one for the Probopass. But we still have a charge move stored. And as I can see here as well, we are going to be able to build up to 2 charge moves, and so we're gonna be able to connect the Rock Slide here, going to get the knockout. Mandibuss is coming back in here, and we can now go for another Rock Slide, get the final shield. Now we have 2 shields left. We do quite a lot of damage to Spark, and we still have an entire, Pelipper in the back here. Pelipper can even take 2 Dark Pulses from the health we are currently at, and so this game is over. We just have to hit basically 1 Hurricane. I could even go ahead and go for the Weather Ball at this point. The clock was nearly up already for a timeout win, which is kind of funny. But yeah, as the opponent goes for the Aerial Ace, I can just go ahead and go for the Hurricane. Hurricane should be enough from this range, and so we can easily knock out the opponent here. Next opponent coming through, let's take a look what they're going to have. They're going to have here the Elite of Shadow Machamp. Horrible Lead Force, and here's kind of how you want to play it, as you're going to get completely hardwalled by Spice. That's kind of wild. But basically, if you're going to encounter something like a Fighting type Pokemon in the lead, go ahead and swap into your Pelipper. If you're going to encounter something like, I don't know, a Gligar, some kind of Ground type Pokemon in the lead, which is going to be very bad for your lead as well, go ahead and swap into Mantine. Basically, what you want to do is, if the opponent is weak to water more, then you kind of want to swap into your Mantine, because Mantine has the slower water type move to get to. and you can take a little bit more advantage of Weather Ball later on your Pelipper. If the opponent is going to be weak against flying type damage, like for example this Machamp, you kind of want to go into your Pelipper instead, because you're going to most likely get a swap out from the opponent anyway, and keep your Mantine for that later. This game is going to be a very close one. We're going to see the Aerial Ace connecting against the opponent's Ninetales. I'm forced to go for another charge move anyway. I'm also forced to go for a shield here most likely, but I can at least get a ton of energy. I know that they're going to have a little bit of energy still on the Machamp, so what I'm kind of trying to do here is I'm going to try to catch a move on to my Probopass. Here I see that the opponent got 3 fast moves in, they had 1 fast move in prior, so they need 1 more to get to the cross chop, and so they decide to keep on with their energy here, and sadly I'm going to lose it. If I would just went straight for the Aerial Ace, I would have won this game, but it is what it is. Let's move on to the next opponent. Was kind of 50-50 chance, I have to say there. Next opponent, let's take a look at this one. Here we're going to have a pretty awkward matchup for us, and it's a team that I built, which is kind of funny because I see this team everywhere right now. So we know already it's going to be the Empoleon in the back. I am kind of going for a risky move here by letting the Trailblaze go through, but it is what it is. We're gonna see here that the opponent actually decides to let the move go through, which is kind of annoying for me. But I can now swap into my Pelipper as the opponent is still locked into this matchup. There you go for a charge move. I'm fine with that. I can go for a charge move here as well. And if I can align myself, I should be kind of fine. As you can see, we can just go ahead and go for another Weather Ball here and either force the second shield or the knockout against the opponent. I actually would have rather had the second shield because this would have allowed us to just farm them down and go for the Zapcan against the Empoleon in the back. Like this, they can still go into the Empoleon and try to get the debuff here. The debuff would be very important because it's going to make the matchup way easier later on for my Mantine. But we don't get it, and that's going to make it a little bit of an awkward one. If we got the debuff, which is a 66% chance by the way, we would have had already basically the game won at this point, but like this is going to be a little bit more tricky as the opponent does way more damage. 2 drill packs are not going to be enough to knock us out, but we still can have to keep some health as well for the opponent's Dragonite. And so what I can go for is I can go for the Water Pulse here, and as you see, the opponent is already quite low, and I'm going to try now to go for the full farm down. This is going to be a little bit of a riskier one, but as you can see, it perfectly works out, and so we can go for the Aerial Ace spam. First move coming through here is going to be able to get a ton of damage onto them, but as you can see as well, the second one is not going to be enough, but we still have a lot of fast move pressure with a wing attack as well as the spark, and so we can easily win this one. Next opponent coming through, horrible lead again for us. So we swap out here, as said before, into the Pelipper. Because the opponent is weaker to the flying typing, we rather go into our Pelipper because Pelipper doesn't have crazy coverage for the flying typing. Of course, we have Hurricane, but it takes quite long to get there. And I rather keep my Aerial Ace user in the back. So you kind of have always like different sales ups depending on what you encounter in the lead, which is going to be bad for you. Here, this Pokemon Dewgong can definitely be an issue for this team. It can be a little bit tricky. Here I try to take advantage of the fact that I have Zapcan, and Zapcan can be quite decent against the Poliwrath as it would one-shot them. So I try to get as much energy as possible. It was not as much as I expected, so I'm forced to swap out immediately just to get out the opponent's Steelix. And I was like, this is most likely going to be a decent matchup for me. I think I'm going to have a great time here. The opponent goes for the Psychic Fangs. I can go for the Water Pulse straight away. And honestly, maybe I make a little bit of a mistake here. Let's take a look at this. We're going to see that the opponent can just go straight for the next charge move. I would still be able to survive it, but I would be low enough that they would just be able to just farm me down. So I decided to use a shield. And here, I feel like it would have been way smarter to go for the bait, because quite obviously they're going to have to use a shield here, as Poliwrath would have done nothing against us. And so here at this point, I was just hoping that I can outspeed the opponent's Poliwrath with my, what's called Probopass there, to get to the Zapcan in the end. Let's see if we can do this. We die basically one turn prior, but if it's going to be the Ice Rune, it's still going to be fine. Scald is sadly just barely enough, and so we're going to lose the game, even though we got kinda walled anyway. Next opponent, Annihilape in the lead. This is going to be horrible again, and again we're going to swap out into our Pelipper instead of our other Pokemon, and we're going to get out not a Dewgong, we're going to get out a Shadow Walrein. Interesting pick from the opponent here, but as you can see, Icicle Spear is going to do quite a lot of damage, and I expect that they would go ahead and go for a shield here. Because they're Shadow, they're more threatened by a Hurricane KO, and they kind of really want to align themselves, and as they're going to go for another charge move, I will take this. I will be able to go for the full farm now most likely with my Probopass. As you can see here, Spark is doing quite a lot of damage as well as generating quite a decent amount of energy. If they're gonna go for the Earthquake, I should be kind of fine here, and they decide to go for the Earthquake, allowing me to go for the full farm down, ending up at 100 energy straight, and we can go straight as well for the Zap Cannon. Big rooms here with the Probopass, getting them low, getting the attack drop when it doesn't matter as the opponent swaps out anyway. But we're gonna see here a Feraligatr in the back, and now I have two options. I can either try to go ahead and win this battle with the Mantine, or I could try to win this battle with the Probopass. What do I mean with this? We can farm down the Feraligatr. Feraligatr is a water type, Spark is super effective, and they also got the defense drop here on my Mantine, and they're forced to use a shield here now. But because they're overfarmed so much, and because their health is so low, I'm kind of forced to go for a shield here now, go up to the Aerial Ace, go for that immediately and knock them out. Kind of would have liked to knock them out here with my Probopass, but the Zapcan already did a lot of damage against them, and so we can move on to the second to last battle for today. Look at this, a water type lead against my rock type Pokemon. But we're still going to have some great coverage here with Spark, doing a lot of damage. Look at our health, look at the opponent's health. It looks kind of nice for us. Issue is, the opponent just outspams me quite easily. And so, I was hoping at this point that the opponent is going to overfarm by a little bit and I want to catch the move. Didn't work out. But yeah, I can still try to catch a move here. For this Pokemon, by the way, it doesn't really matter which Pokemon you swap into. So you see me here going to the Mantine. Why do I do this? Even though I said something different prior. Mantine is going to be bulkier, going to be able to take those moves a little bit easier from the Feraligatr. And they were low enough where it doesn't matter if you go for an Aerial Ace or a Weather Ball anyway. Here we're going to have a matchup that I really don't like. We're going to have the Toxapex. Toxapex is so bulky that Aerial Ace is barely doing anything. And so what the opponent can do now is they can just let those moves go through. They're literally a complete wall to us, even though our moves are all neutral. It doesn't matter to them. They're just so insanely bulky. It is crazy. We can see that we can still survive a Brine, which they of course try to do because I want to get more energy for our Probopass. But Probopass is coming back in here and we can go for the Rock Slide. Rock Slide is going to be able to connect. Hopefully gonna get the shield here. We do get the shield. And what we can see here as well is the opponent can go for a Brine, but Probopass is insanely bulky, and so we can actually still take this move, and we're gonna go for a CMP tie here against the opponent, allowing us to go for the knockout, and we have to see what they're going to have in the back. It's going to be the Weezing, and this is lovely, because we should be able to survive one Brutal Swing. We are very bulky, and as you're gonna see here, it is not going to be enough to knock us out. We can go for the Zap Cannon. This is going to be able to connect, do a ton of damage, get the attack drop, and with this game is over. Winning with 3 Pokemon here, going to be kinda great, and we can move on to the final battle for today. This team is honestly no joke, by the way. Like, this team works out super well. Can highly recommend it to you. Like, it is a crazy fun team to run as well. Like, Probopass is super underrated. It's basically a cheap Carbink, but has some other benefits as well. For example, beating Carbink. For example, just having a lot of fast charge move pressure here as well with something like a Zap Cannon. So, cool Pokemon, especially if you can get some energy throughout the games, which happen quite often for me. And here we're going to have the final battle. We're going to have the Shadow Tentacruel, and we're going to see here as well that we're going to be able to apparently win CMP tie against them or whatever. I did not expect this at all, but I can just get the knockout here, which is okay, but not too great. Because we are forced to swap out here now. The opponent goes back into the Gligar. I try to go for the Weather Ball. Does not work out. I did not want to give the opponent's Gligar any fast move advantage because it's going to be kinda difficult to come back from this then, because Gligar can be a little bit tricky. You have 2 water types, but Gligar is always tricky against no matter Pokemon. It's gonna go up to, like, honestly, I feel like still like Gligar needs a nerf. You can buff ice types or whatever if you want to, but Gligar needs a nerf. This game was wild, by the way. Here we're going to encounter the opponent with a Hypno, and it's going to be the Shadow Hypno. And we're going to be able to still go for a charge move as they shield up 1 charge move there. And I was scared, because Focus Blast is a thing, but I was doubting that Focus Blast would be actually decent on a Hypno, because in the current meta there are not really a lot of targets. But I was wrong, but it doesn't matter, because I was able to catch that Focus Blast on to my Mantine. And so I have to hope that they don't have another Focus Blast here. This might be a little bit too greedy from me, but it was not. It's just the Ice Punch, and so I can go for the full farm run. They swap out into the Gligar, allowing me to go for 2 Rock Slides back to back. No fast moves in between, and so this is going to be a knockout. They don't have energy anymore on the Hypno, and so it's going to be a good game. Crazy fun there with the Focus Blast, but it didn't help you. So, this team, a lot of fun, really nice to play. Hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, feel free to leave a like, and I'll see you then. Bye bye.